And we are back with another shorty episode of the International Money Cafe podcast. This is an episode where in 10 minutes or less, Manasa and I will take a time used in the cross-border space, finances and taxes, and just kind of give you a very high-level overview of what this is. A while back, we completed episode 19, which really talked about the biggest threat to your finances when you're on a work visa. And in that episode, we went through what you should do, how to prepare for it. Somebody reached out to me and said, okay, I'll listen to episode 19, but I'm curious about the different types of visas. So in today's shorty episode, we're going to take the 5 main work visas and tell you what happens if you lose a job on one of those visas. So the consequences of job loss on each specific on each specific visa, and then go back to episode 19 to know how to prepare for this. How does this sound, Manasa?
Yes, that sounds perfect. So I'm going to start out with some of these visas that I happen to work with a lot. And the first one is the L1A and the L1B visa. So you already know, if you don't, the L1A and L1B visa are multinational workers being transferred from a foreign company to a US office. And they're usually here for 5 to 7 years. The consequences of a job loss on this visa is that they have to leave the country in 60 days or less, or find another job on an L1 or an H1B visa, or they may have to switch to another non-immigrant visa.
And now that you mentioned the H1B visa, let me talk about that. I do seem to get a lot of people reaching out to me on the H1B visa. This is a professional visa, and there's, again, a whole bunch of different requirements. Your duration is typically 3 to 6 years, but you may be able to get yearly extensions if applying for a green card. So anyway, if you lose a job on the H1B visa, here are the consequences. 1, you need to leave the country in 60 days or less. You can find another job, but this job has to be on another H1B visa, or you can switch to another non-immigrant visa like a visitor's visa B1 or a student visa or something like that.
Yeah, so the next visa we'll pick up is the TN visa. This visa is specifically for Canadians or people from Mexico. It's a NAFTA approved job, and they're usually here for 3 years, but that's dependent on various entry requirements. So if you're on a TN visa and you lose your job, then again, you have to leave the country in 60 days or less, or find another job on a TN or an H1B visa, but the H1B visa is subject to a lottery consideration, and I'll leave Jane to clarify that. Or you have to switch to another non-immigrant visa.
So when you talk about the lottery consideration, what that basically means is you have to go, a company has to offer you the job, and then you get put into this pool because now there's thousands of people applying for a job on H1B visa. And then if you're lucky, your name will get picked because there's only 85,000 of these visas that they end up giving out. So to give you a number to kind of clarify this, I looked at it, I think it was in the last 2 years, the pool had something like over 500,000 people applied for this. So it can get pretty tricky and pretty hairy if you have to go back through this. Okay, let me talk about the E3 visa. So this is a specialty occupation visa. It needs, I think, like a bachelor's degree or higher. But the key thing is you have to be from Australia to get the E3 visa. It can be extended indefinitely in 2-year increments. Okay, if you lose a job on the E3 visa, 1, you have to leave the country in 60 days or less. You have to find another job on either an H-1B visa or an E3 visa, or you can switch to another non-immigrant visa.
Yeah, I know. So we are seeing a pattern here. So consequences of a job loss on most of these work visas is that you have to leave the country in 60 days or less, unless you find another job on a different or the same visa. So definitely now, the episode 19, where we talk about what you need to do to be prepared for this, becomes really important. So yeah, we do come to the end of another.
No, there's one we didn't talk about.
Oh, we did not.
Yes, the O1 visa. Okay, I'll talk about it.
Yes. Let's do that.
Yeah, so the O1 visa, it's the extraordinary ability visa. It's actually been called the Hollywood visa because you have to have very special skills to get it. And the O1 visa, you get it for 3 years. It can be extended indefinitely in 1 year increments, and it can be from any country. Okay, if you lose a job on the O1 visa, again, as you said, you have to leave the country in 60 days or less. You have to find another job on the same or on an H-1B visa, or you can switch to another non-immigrant visa. And I think we've covered all of them. Right, Manasa?
Yes, we did. We sneak one in there too. So,
absolutely.
Yes, so we come to an end of this great shorty episode. And like always, please stay tuned for more. Go to our website and subscribe. And we will be very happy to see you again on our next episode.
Hey, dear IMC listener, let me tell you a little story. Coincidentally, when I started my practice, it was the same year in which FATCA was passed into law. FATCA stands for Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. The government started to crack down on those who had financial assets overseas and were not compliant in disclosing these funds to the US government. The FinCEN F-bar filing requirement has been around since 1970, since the Bank Secrecy Act was passed. Well, even though it has been more than 10 years since these laws were passed, we still have many US taxpayers who may have a filing requirement but are completely unaware of it. I'm talking about that joint account with your dad with over 10K back home. So this is, in fact, our most frequently asked question. We've put together a comprehensive free ebook which goes over the most important compliance requirements for overseas financial assets. And we want you, IMC listener, to have this ebook completely free. All you need to do is go to our website, www.theimcafe.com, and scroll to the bottom of the homepage and enter your first name and email address, and you will be able to download this handy ebook. Now hurry, go get your free and fabulous download.
Thank you for listening to the